Hi, English 112 students. This is Professor Williams, and I'm going to give you a really handy overview on using MLA with your formal writing assignments. You can keep this video handy throughout the course of the semester so that you will be able to refer to it when you're working on formal assignments so that you understand exactly what is required of you as far as MLA when you're working on one of the formal papers. So I have here on the screen an example of a really good paper that was written um, using MLA. So, at minimal, when we talk about MLA formatting, you need to have your papers double spaced. You need to use Times New Roman font, 12-point font. You need to have the 4-line header in the top left hand corner, which includes your name, my name, the class, which for you, instead of QEN 101, it would say English 112, and then the actual due date of the formal assignment. You always need to have a unique title for your assignment. So if you're working on formal assignment 1, for example, instead of titling it formal assignment 1, you should have a unique title that you've created for that essay. Um, and even your header up here should be double spaced, just FYI, because a lot of people will double space, a lot of students will double space their paper, but then they won't do that for your title. So your header. So from your header through the works cited page, everything needs to be double spaced. So let's look at the works cited page before I start talking about the content. So again, actually this is incorrect. She's got works cited underlined. It should not be underlined or bolded. It should be at the center, um, at the top of your citations. So remember with your citations, let's see, if you start with them left flush over here, the second and third line of each of your citations should be indented. Let's see, so these are kind of off a little bit. I'm just going to fix them. So a lot of people have problems trying to double space the second line. If you simply put the cursor in front of the second line and you tab over, it should work. If that doesn't work, if that ends up pushing the whole citation over, like both lines, then if you put your cursor in front of the second line and then hit this indent tab up here, that should indent it as well. So this is actually not correct. But there should be no more than double spacing for your whole works cited page. So between works cited and your first citation, it should just be double spaced. Second and third lines of your citation are indented. And then, of course, you alphabetize your citations by whatever letter is first in the citation. So this particular citation is the author's name. So if that's what goes first according to MLA and how you cite that source, then you alphabetize by the first letter of his last name. For this citation, which is a film title, the film title, the name of the film, I think goes first in MLA. So then you would alphabetize by the first letter of that film title. In talking about how you incorporate quotes into your paper, one easy thing to remember is that when you're doing research and you've gotten really specific information from a source, you should have um, really general information in whatever you say about what you're talking about, and then you should use your source in order to bring in more specific information. So, for example, this is a paper where a student's analyzing a film, and she makes a really kind of general statement here. The lighting adds to the effect as the audience senses are caught in a dreamy confession of love as they both speak the beginning of their love letters. So that's what she has to say about the film. And then she has a colon, and then she brings in a quote from the film in order to support what she just said. So basically, when you're thinking about writing an MLA, and some of you have gotten some training in MLA probably already in English class, but instead of thinking about paraphrasing, which you can do when you're writing an APA, in MLA, you always want to have direct quotes from your sources so that it's very clear what you're saying about a topic and then what specific information you've gotten from an expert to support what you have to say. So the rule of thumb is just be as general as you can in what you have to say. If there's any kind of statistics or specific information that you would have had to look up in a source, then you need to use that as a quote and bring it in this way that this writer has done. So let's look at another example of that. So in this particular paragraph, the writer here is talking about the title cards of the film trailer and discussing how they have to do with the film itself. So she says, the title cards against Isabel sailing the stormy sea reads, this is actually not a complete sentence. So a lot of times what young writers do is have an incomplete sentence like this, and then they bring in a quote to support that, and it's not the best writing. So you want to make sure that since you're writing this paper that your thoughts always stand on their own. So really every sentence should be complete and should be able to stand on its own without that quote to support it. So it says here, the title card against Isabel sailing the stormy sea reads, she really should have completed this sentence. So I'm going to say something general here. The title card against Isabel sailing the stormy sea says something about love. That's a complete sentence, but it's general enough that it's a good introduction to whatever she's getting ready to say more specifically with a quote from that trailer, which is once you find love. It can be confusing when you're not sure exactly what the quote that you want to use is, but if you think about it in terms of you're writing the paper first using your own words, and then you bring in the expert support from your sources, you kind of might have to change what you had to say in the beginning. Like maybe once she figured out what she wanted to say about this title card, she had to go back and kind of revise this so that it made sense with whatever quote she was using to support that. But that's kind of just what you have to do when you're writing an MLA. You kind of have to have a general idea of what you want to say, and then as you start finding quotes to support what you have to say, you can kind of work on those sentences that come before the quotes so that everything flows together. Let me find another example. So this particular paragraph, she's talking about, this was a rhetorical analysis of a film trailer, which you guys will have to do this semester. So she's talking about how the music from the, I'm sorry, no, she's talking about how the title cards support the title cards from the trailer support the fact that this film is something that you would want to see as the viewer of the trailer. So remember, a trailer is a device to try to get, a film trailer is a device to try to get people to go see the movie. And if you're talking in terms of the means of persuasion, ethos, logos, and pathos, this writer is arguing that the title cards that kind of come between the different shots in the trailer establish ethos of the film because of what the title cards say. So she says, as the musical score climaxes, the title cards reporting ethos of the characters are shown. And then this particular title card says Academy Award nominee Michael Fassbender, Academy Award winner Alicia Vikander, Academy Award winner Rachel Weisz. So basically what she's saying here is the fact that all these Academy Award nominees and winners on the title cards are going to make people who are interested in that kind of a film and those actors want to see the film. It's establishing ethos for the film, which is great. But anyway, she makes a pretty general statement here, and then she has her colon. It's always a colon, not a comma, not a semicolon. And then she has the quotes from those title cards, or the quotes from her source to support what she said here. And then after the quotes, she has the author's last name in parentheses, which in this case, since it's a film, this is the director's last name. But just trying to give you guys kind of an idea of, how you incorporate quotes into your MLA writing so that you're avoiding plagiarism. So just to recap, at minimal, remember that MLA always calls for Times New Roman, double space, 12-point font. You always want that 4-line header in the top left corner. You always want a unique title for your essay. And then when incorporating quotes, you make general statements and use your sources, experts to support your ideas. You always have a colon before each quote. The quote is in parentheses. Spelled that wrong. And then the author's last name and page number, if applicable. Are in, quote is in quotations. Author's last name and page number are in parentheses. And then period at end of sentence goes after parentheses. So that's how you should always format your quotes when you bring them in to support your statements when writing an MLA. So you don't want to paraphrase. And you always want to write complete sentences to introduce your quotes.